What I'm about to share with you today is breaking news that just came out in the last 48 hours, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. Princess Eugenie, Prince Andrew's youngest daughter, has reportedly completely cut off contact with her father over his refusal to apologise to Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Multiple sources are now confirming that the estrangement has reached what insiders call Brooklyn Beckham level, meaning there is no contact whatsoever. None. Eugenie refused to visit Andrew at Christmas, wouldn't speak to him at her own daughter's christening, and is now reportedly furious that he continues to refuse to show remorse for his association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This is particularly devastating when you understand who Eugenie is. She's the co-founder of the Anti-Slavery Collective, an organisation dedicated to fighting modern slavery and human trafficking. The moral conflict of being a prominent anti-trafficking advocate while her father is linked to one of the world's most notorious sex traffickers has apparently become unbearable. Meanwhile, Princess Beatrice is taking a completely different approach, trying to maintain relationships with both her disgraced father and the royal family, walking what sources call a fine line. This difference is creating a painful division between the two sisters who were once inseparable. So let's dive into this breaking story. What exactly happened between Eugenie and Andrew? Why is she taking such a harsh stance? How does this differ from Beatrice's approach? And is Andrew finally facing the full consequences of his choices? Part 1. The breaking news. There is no contact at all. The devastating report on January 18th, 2026, just 2 days ago. Heat magazine broke the story that has royal watchers absolutely stunned. According to their sources, Princess Eugenie has completely severed contact with Prince Andrew. There is no contact at all, nothing, a source told the magazine. Eugenie is very much her own person and has distanced herself from him. The insider continued with an even more striking comparison. It's basically Brooklyn Beckham level. She has completely cut him off. For those unfamiliar with the reference, Brooklyn Beckham famously had a period of estrangement from his father David Beckham over family tensions. It's become shorthand for a complete familial cut-off. No calls, no texts, no visits, nothing. Why this is breaking news? Now, you might be thinking, didn't Andrew get stripped of his titles months ago? Why is this news now? Here's why this is significant. Up until very recently, both Beatrice and Eugenie were still maintaining some level of contact with their father, despite his disgrace. They were seen as standing by him even as the rest of the royal family severed ties. But something has changed. Specifically, Eugenie has changed, and the timing of this complete cut-off, coming in January 2026 as Andrew faces eviction from Royal Lodge by Easter, suggests this is Eugenie making a definitive statement about where she stands. The Christmas snub. According to sources, the first major sign of the rift came at Christmas 2025. While Beatrice and Eugenie both attended the royal family's Christmas celebrations at Sandringham, they made very different choices regarding their father. Beatrice reportedly still visits Andrew occasionally, trying to maintain some relationship. But Eugenie? She refused to visit her father at all over the Christmas period. Think about what that means. Christmas, the most family-oriented holiday of the year, and Eugenie chose to completely avoid her own father. That's not just a busy schedule. That's a deliberate decision. The christening incident. But the Christmas absence wasn't the first sign of trouble. According to royal sources, tensions were already visible at the christening of Eugenie's daughter Athena in June 2025. Despite Andrew attending his granddaughter's christening, Eugenie reportedly did not engage with him or speak to him during the event. She allowed him to attend, he is Athena's grandfather, after all, but made it clear through her behaviour that their relationship was strained, if not broken. Imagine planning your daughter's christening, one of the most important family moments of your life, and deliberately avoiding interaction with your own father, who's present at the event. That level of coldness suggests something fundamental has shattered in their relationship. Andrew is devastated. According to sources close to Andrew, he is absolutely devastated by Eugenie's decision to cut him off. Andrew is devastated, an insider revealed. He already lost his titles, his home, his reputation, his position in the royal family. Now he's losing his daughters too, or at least Eugenie. The source continued. He doesn't understand why Eugenie won't forgive him. He believes he's done nothing wrong, which is part of the problem. Eugenie can't accept his complete lack of remorse. This gets to the heart of the issue. Andrew maintains he's been unfairly treated, that he's a victim of circumstance. Eugenie, meanwhile, believes he needs to take accountability and show genuine remorse for his association with Epstein and the harm done to trafficking victims. Those two positions are fundamentally incompatible. Part 2. The Anti-Slavery Collective, Eugenie's Moral Crusade. Who is Princess Eugenie? Before we go further, let's talk about who Princess Eugenie actually is, because understanding her work makes this estrangement even more powerful. Princess Eugenie, 35 years old, is the younger daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. She's married to Jack Brooksbank and they have 2 children, August, born 2021, and Athena, born 2023. Unlike many royals, Eugenie has always had a career outside royal duties. She works as an art director at the Gallery Hauser and Wirth in London, but more significantly for this story, she's a prominent anti-trafficking advocate. The Anti-Slavery Collective. In 2017, Eugenie co-founded the Anti-Slavery Collective alongside her best friend Julia de Boinville. The organisation is dedicated to raising awareness about modern slavery and human trafficking. The Anti-Slavery Collective's mission is to educate the public about the reality of modern slavery, support survivors of trafficking, push for stronger legislation against traffickers, partner with other organisations fighting exploitation, use social media and campaigns to raise awareness. Eugenie has been deeply passionate about this cause for years. She's given speeches, appeared at events, used her platform to amplify survivor voices, and made anti-trafficking work a core part of her public identity. The painful irony, now here's where the situation becomes absolutely excruciating. Eugenie has built her public profile around fighting human trafficking and modern slavery, while her father has been credibly accused of sexually abusing a teenager who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. Think about that irony for a moment. Eugenie advocates for trafficking victims. Her father is accused by trafficking victims. She works to hold traffickers accountable. Her father was friends with one of the world's most notorious traffickers and shows no remorse about it. This isn't just a political disagreement or a family squabble. This is a fundamental moral conflict that strikes at the heart of Eugenie's identity and life's work. Virginia Giuffre's allegations. To understand why this is so painful for Eugenie, we need to revisit what Virginia Giuffre alleged about Andrew. Giuffre, who died by suicide in April 2025, detailed in her posthumous memoir Nobody's Girl that she was trafficked to Andrew when she was 17 years old. She described 3 separate sexual encounters, including one in London, one in New York, and one in an orgy situation. Giuffre stated she was paid $15,000 for the first encounter. She described Andrew as entitled and acting as if he had the right to have sex with her. She detailed the now infamous photograph of Andrew with his arm around her waist at Ghislaine Maxwell's London home. Andrew settled a civil lawsuit with Giuffre in 2022 for millions of dollars without admitting wrongdoing. But he has never apologised to her or acknowledged that his association with Epstein caused harm to trafficking victims. The moral impossibility. For Eugenie, the situation presents an impossible moral dilemma. Option A. Stand by her father, which means appearing to dismiss or minimise Giuffre's allegations, undermining her own anti-trafficking work, being seen as a hypocrite by the survivor community, potentially damaging the anti-slavery collective's reputation. Option B. Distance herself from her father, which means cutting off her own parent during his lowest moment, creating family division and pain, facing criticism for abandoning her father, living with the emotional pain of estrangement. There's no good option here. Both choices involve immense pain and loss. According to sources, Eugenie has chosen option B, and the decision has been agonizing for her. The apology that never came. Multiple sources have confirmed that what Eugenie desperately wants, what might repair their relationship, is for Andrew to publicly apologize to Epstein's victims and show genuine remorse. Eugenie has made it clear that she needs her father to apologize, an insider revealed. Not just a legal settlement, not just carefully worded statements from lawyers, but a genuine, heartfelt apology to the women who were harmed. but Andrew has consistently refused. He maintains that he's done nothing wrong, that he's been unfairly targeted, that the allegations against him are false despite settling the lawsuit. Andrew believes he has nothing to apologise for, a source close to him said. He thinks he's the victim in all of this, victim of a smear campaign, victim of cancel culture, victim of his association with Epstein being mischaracterised. This fundamental disagreement, Eugenie believing Andrew owes victims an apology, Andrew believing he's owed an apology, makes reconciliation seemingly impossible. Part 3. Beatrice versus Eugenie, the sister. Divide Beatrice's different approach. While Eugenie has cut Andrew off completely, Princess Beatrice has taken a very different approach, and this difference is reportedly creating tension between the two sisters who were once incredibly close. According to sources, Beatrice is walking a fine line between maintaining a relationship with her father and staying in good standing with the royal family. Beatrice still visits Andrew occasionally, an insider revealed. She's trying to balance being a supportive daughter with not alienating King Charles and the rest of the family. The source continued, "It's an impossible position. She loves her father, but she also understands why the family had to take action against him. She's caught in the middle." Why Beatrice feels differently. Several factors may explain why Beatrice has maintained some contact with Andrew while Eugenie hasn't. Personality differences. Beatrice is described as more diplomatic and family-oriented, while Eugenie is more independent and values-driven in her approach to relationships. Career differences. Beatrice works in strategic partnerships and consulting, fields where moral stances are less central to professional identity. Eugenie's anti-trafficking work makes her father's Epstein connection directly relevant to her career. Age and birth order. As the older daughter, Beatrice may feel more responsibility to maintain family connections and support her parents. Different relationships with Andrew. Sources suggest Andrew and Beatrice were always slightly closer than Andrew and Eugenie, though both daughters were considered his favourites. Children's ages. Beatrice's daughter Sienna is younger than Eugenie's children, so Beatrice may feel her daughter needs a grandfather relationship in ways Eugenie doesn't prioritise. The royal family factor. There's also the question of how each sister's relationship with the broader royal family affects their approach to Andrew. Beatrice holds a unique position as one of King Charles's councillors of state due to her position in the line of succession. She attended the King's Foundation event in November 2024. Stepping in when Charles couldn't attend, she's been given small royal responsibilities. This means Beatrice has more to lose by being too closely associated with Andrew. She needs to maintain good standing with Charles and William if she wants to occasionally represent the family. Eugenie, by contrast, isn't a councillor of state and has generally positioned herself as more independent from core royal duties. She has less official standing to protect, which may give her more freedom to take the moral stance she believes is right, regardless of family pressure. Christmas 2025 revealed the divide. The difference between the sisters was most visible at Christmas 2025. Both Beatrice and Eugenie attended the royal family's Christmas celebrations at Sandringham, but notably, their parents Andrew and Sarah Ferguson did not. This was a significant choice by both sisters. They essentially chose the royal family over their parents for Christmas. But while at Sandringham, Beatrice reportedly still expressed some sympathy for her father's situation, while Eugenie was notably silent on the topic. After Christmas, Beatrice reportedly made a brief visit to see Andrew at Royal Lodge. Eugenie did not. The sister relationship strain. According to sources, the different approaches to their father have created strain between Beatrice and Eugenie, two sisters who have historically been extremely close. They're still sisters, and they still love each other, an insider told Heat magazine. But there's definitely tension over how to handle their father. Beatrice feels Eugenie is being too harsh. Eugenie feels Beatrice is enabling bad behaviour by maintaining contact. The source continued, "They've agreed not to discuss Andrew when they're together because it just leads to arguments. It's sad. Their father's scandal is now damaging their relationship with each other." This is one of the most tragic aspects of the whole situation. Andrew's refusal to take accountability isn't just costing him his relationship with Eugenie, it's also damaging the bond between his two daughters. Part 4. Andrew's perspective. Using his daughters as spies. Andrew's delusion. To understand why this situation has become so intractable, we need to understand Andrew's mindset, which multiple sources describe as deluded and divorced from reality. According to insiders, Andrew genuinely believes he's done nothing wrong. The allegations against him are fabricated or exaggerated. His association with Epstein has been mischaracterized. He's the victim of a witch hunt driven by damn Me Too and woke culture. His family abandoned him rather than standing by him. King Charles stripped his titles to protect the institution, not because Andrew deserved it. Andrew lives in a bubble where he's the wronged party, a former royal aide told the Express. He doesn't understand why Eugenie won't forgive him because, in his mind, there's nothing to forgive. He believes he should be forgiven for being accused, not that he should apologise for anything he actually did. The spy allegations, making the situation even more troubling. Sources claim that Andrew has been using whatever limited contact he has with his daughters as a way to gather information about the royal family. Andrew sees Beatrice's occasional visits as an opportunity to get intel on what's happening with Charles and William, an insider revealed. He pumps her for information. Who's saying what about him, whether there's any chance of reconciliation, what the family's plans are. The source continued. Beatrice hates being put in this position, but Andrew is relentless. He wants to know everything that's being said about him behind closed doors. This behaviour, using his daughters as informants or spies on the royal family, is reportedly one of the reasons Eugenie has cut contact entirely. She doesn't want to be interrogated about royal family matters every time she sees her father. The inheritance issue. There's also a painful financial dimension to this story. When Andrew was living at Royal Lodge with his 75-year lease, the expectation was that the property would eventually pass to Beatrice and Eugenie. But now that Andrew is being evicted and moving to the much smaller Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate, that inheritance is essentially gone. The girls have lost their inheritance, a source told the Daily Mail. Royal Lodge was worth millions and would have been theirs. Now they're getting nothing, or at least nothing of comparable value. This adds another layer of resentment to the situation. Not only has Andrew's scandal destroyed his own life, it's also cost his daughters financially. Sarah Ferguson's position, adding complexity to the family dynamics. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife and the girl's mother, has maintained a close relationship with Andrew despite their divorce decades ago. Sarah has been living with Andrew at Royal Lodge for the past 20 years in what many describe as an unusual but apparently functional arrangement. Now she too faces eviction and is reportedly looking for a place in Windsor to stay near her daughters and grandchildren. According to sources, Sarah has tried to mediate between Andrew and his daughters, particularly Eugenie, but without success. Sarah understands both sides, an insider said. She knows Andrew has made terrible choices, but she also still cares about him as the father of her children. She's tried to get him to apologise, but he won't listen to her either. Sarah's continued closeness with Andrew reportedly frustrates Eugenie as well, though sources say Eugenie maintains a better relationship with her mother than her father. Part 5. The eviction deadline, April 2026, adds urgency Easter deadline. Adding urgency to this entire situation is the looming eviction deadline, Easter 2026, which falls on April 20th. King Charles has given Andrew formal notice to vacate Royal Lodge by that date. As we covered in previous videos, Royal Lodge is a 30-room mansion in Windsor Great Park where Andrew has lived essentially rent-free, paying only peppercorn rent, since 2003. The lease was supposed to last until 2078, but King Charles terminated it following Andrew's title stripping in October 2025. Andrew is supposed to move to Marsh Farm, a property on the Sandringham estate about 100 miles north of London. But the property reportedly needs a lot of work and may not be habitable by the April deadline. This raises the extraordinary prospect that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who remains 8th in line to the throne, could actually find himself homeless for a short period of time next spring, according to royal editor Rebecca English. Financial desperation. Andrew's financial situation is dire, which is one reason he's reportedly considering writing a tell-all memoir, as we covered in a previous video. He faces mounting legal costs from years of litigation, loss of Royal Lodge, a 30 million property, no income from royal duties since 2019, questions about how he afforded his $12 million settlement with Joffrey Maintenance costs for his new, smaller property. For Andrew, A book represents both a potential financial lifeline and an opportunity to claim that he has been unjustly handled, a source told the Express. But if Andrew does write a memoir, particularly one where he positions himself as a victim, it would almost certainly make any reconciliation with Eugenie completely impossible. The daughter's dilemma. Both Beatrice and Eugenie face a difficult question as the eviction deadline approaches. Do they help their father financially? Both daughters have wealthy husbands. Beatrice is married to property developer Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. Eugenie is married to tequila brand ambassador Jack Brooksbank. They could theoretically provide financial support to Andrew if they chose. But doing so would further associate them with his scandal, potentially anger the royal family, enable Andrew to avoid facing full consequences, undermine the punishment King Charles has imposed. According to sources, Beatrice and Eugenie have made it clear they will not be funding their father's lifestyle or helping him avoid the consequences of the eviction. The girls have their own families to think about, an insider said. They're not going to bankrupt themselves supporting their father when he refuses to show remorse or take accountability. Part 6. Can this rift be healed? What Eugenie wants. According to multiple sources, there is a path to reconciliation between Eugenie and Andrew, but it requires something Andrew has shown no willingness to provide. Eugenie has been very clear about what she needs, a source close to her told Heat magazine. She needs her father to publicly apologize to Jeffrey Epstein's victims. She needs him to show genuine remorse. She needs him to take accountability for his association with a trafficker and the harm that caused. The source continued. It's not about the legal case or the settlement, it's about basic human decency and moral responsibility. Eugenie can't have a relationship with someone who shows zero empathy for trafficking victims when her life's work is supporting trafficking survivors. This demand is actually quite reasonable. Eugenie isn't asking Andrew to admit to crimes he hasn't been convicted of. She's simply asking him to acknowledge that his friendship with Epstein was wrong, that he should have known better, and that he's sorry for any harm his association caused. But Andrew has consistently refused to offer even this basic level of accountability, the likelihood of change. So will Andrew apologize? Will he show the remorse Eugenie needs to see? Based on everything we know about Andrew's character and his response to this scandal over the past several years, the answer appears to be almost certainly not. Andrew has shown himself to be deeply convinced of his own righteousness, unwilling to accept responsibility, surrounded by enablers, including Sarah, who don't push him to change, increasingly isolated and bitter rather than reflective, planning to write a memoir positioning himself as a victim. These are not the characteristics of someone preparing to humble themselves and apologize. Andrew would rather die than apologize, a former palace aide said bluntly. He sees apologizing as admitting guilt, and he's convinced himself he's not guilty of anything except having bad judgment in his choice of friends. The permanent estrangement. If Andrew doesn't change, and all signs suggest he won't, then this estrangement between him and Eugenie is likely permanent. Eugenie is 35 years old. She has young children who will grow up not really knowing their grandfather. She has a successful career and a strong marriage. She doesn't need her father in her life if maintaining that relationship means compromising her values and her work. Eugenie has made peace with the idea that her father may never be part of her life again, a source told the Daily Mail. It's sad, but she'd rather have no father than have a father she can't respect. This is particularly heartbreaking when you consider that Andrew reportedly doted on his daughters when they were young. They were his princesses, his pride and joy. He was known as a loving, engaged father, despite his many other flaws. But that relationship is now destroyed, not because of something Eugenie did, but because of Andrew's choices and his continued refusal to take accountability for them. Beatrice's impossible position. As for Beatrice, her position becomes increasingly untenable if Eugenie maintains her cutoff. Can Beatrice continue to visit Andrew when her sister has completely severed contact? Won't that create ongoing tension between the sisters? Won't family gatherings become awkward if Andrew is a topic they can't discuss? Beatrice is hoping that time will heal things, a source said. She's hoping that maybe Andrew will eventually come to his senses and apologize, or that Eugenie will soften her stance. But realistically, neither seems likely. Some royal experts have suggested that Beatrice may eventually be forced to choose between her father and her sister, a choice no one should have to make. Conclusion: a family destroyed by refusal to apologise. The tragedy of this story. As we step back and look at everything we've discussed today, what emerges is a portrait of a family torn apart not by the original scandal itself, but by one man's refusal to take accountability. If Andrew had immediately apologised when the allegations first surfaced, if he'd said, "My friendship with Epstein was a terrible error in judgment, and I'm deeply sorry for any association with someone who caused such harm," this situation might have been very different. He might have lost his titles and his position anyway. The royal family might still have distanced themselves from him, but he might have maintained relationships with his daughters and some measure of personal dignity. Instead, Andrew chose denial, deflection, and delusion. He gave that catastrophic Newsnight interview. He settled the lawsuit without admission. He's maintained his innocence despite overwhelming evidence of poor judgment at minimum. And now he's lost everything: his titles, his home, his position, his reputation, and now his relationship with at least one of his daughters. The Eugenie factor. What makes this particular chapter so powerful is who Eugenie is. She's not some distant royal making a political calculation. She's Andrew's daughter who grew up loving her father, wanting to believe in him, trying to see the best in him. She's also someone who's dedicated her adult life to fighting exactly the kind of exploitation her father's friend Jeffrey Epstein perpetrated. The cognitive dissonance of loving a father who shows no remorse for associating with a trafficker became too much to bear. Eugenie made the incredibly difficult choice to prioritise her values over her relationship with her father. That's not something anyone does lightly. It's a choice that will cause her pain for the rest of her life. But it's also a choice she apparently felt she had to make to maintain her integrity and continue her anti-trafficking work with authenticity. The sister divide. One of the saddest aspects of this story is how Andrew's scandal is now damaging the relationship between Beatrice and Eugenie, two sisters who have always been close and supportive of each other. They don't have many royal cousins their age. They grew up together, navigated their parents' divorce together, dealt with being non-working royals together. They were each other's primary support system, and now their father's refusal to apologise is creating a wedge between them. They're taking different approaches, Beatrice trying to maintain some relationship, Eugenie cutting contact entirely, and those different choices are creating tension. This is yet another casualty of Andrew's inability to do the right thing. What April holds. As we move toward the April eviction deadline, this story will only intensify. We'll see whether Andrew actually moves to Marsh Farm, or if he becomes temporarily homeless as predicted. We'll see if he follows through on his rumoured tell-all memoir plans. We'll see if the financial pressure changes his behaviour in any way. But one thing seems certain: unless Andrew has a dramatic change of heart and offers the genuine apology Eugenie needs, their relationship will remain severed. Final thoughts. Is Princess Eugenie right to cut off her father? That's a question each person has to answer based on their own values. But what's undeniable is that Eugenie has made an incredibly difficult choice that puts her values and her work ahead of family harmony. She's the co-founder of an organisation fighting modern slavery. Her father is credibly accused by trafficking victims and refuses to show remorse. She felt she couldn't be both an anti-trafficking advocate and maintain a relationship with someone who shows no empathy for trafficking survivors. For Eugenie, integrity matters more than family connection. Whether you agree with her choice or not, you have to respect the courage it took to make it. Andrew is learning, too late, that actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences include losing the love and respect of your own children. Your thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Eugenie is right to cut off Andrew? Or should she maintain some relationship because he's her father? Is Beatrice's approach of maintaining limited contact better? What would you do in Eugenie's position? Should Andrew apologise to Epstein's victims? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breaking news analysis valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. This story is developing rapidly, and we'll be covering all updates as they happen. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.